know what I hate? I hate whiners, you know? I hate people who just complain. I had a guy in a joint one time, cell next to me, and he used to yap about everything. He used to yap about the food, and yap about the guards, and yap about this, and yap about that, and yap all night long. Fucking yap. Like a fucking 747, you know what I mean? Like an engine stuck right between your ears, and you can't get away from it because he's right next to you, you know what I mean?
That means that we punched our ticket to go try to win the Super Bowl, and that's it. We got one game at a time, starting at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Love y'all, boys. Love you. I'll go to war with every single one of you, every fucking game, all right? Love you, 1-7. Here we go! 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3! Win!
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking clout. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
It's showtime.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I am Tommy. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell because I always forget to tell you. What up, Bills Mafia, man? How y'all doing out there today on this Saturday? Look, these episodes, these Down and Drought that I'm going to do for the next, now 15 more weeks after today's show. It's going to be on every Sunday at 1 o'clock, right? But the reason why I'm doing it today is because I had to fill in for somebody at work tomorrow, and I don't really want to miss an episode. I want to get this done 17 straight weeks. So that is the reason why I am live today on a Saturday. I want to apologize about yesterday missing Friday Night Lights. Man, I had like a killer headache. It really was, my neck was kind of hurting me. So I got a headache because of it. And yeah, I don't want to come on and give you guys a shitty podcast, right? Though it could be shitty anyways. I don't know, right? But it would add to the shittiness if I went on not feeling my best. But let's get to the chat real quick before we get going with this episode. Let's see here. Bob, what up, Tommy? Hope you're doing well today. I am, man. I appreciate it. I'm feeling a lot better, actually. And that is me responding to you. Norris, man, glad to see you. Sandra in the house. Good afternoon, Tommy. To the top. And Mafia. That's right. I should have said that. I didn't do that. You want me to redo it? You want me to redo my intro? Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I'm your host, Tommy, to the highest degree, to the TOP from the 313. There you go. All right. So today, guys, we are covering 2001. A lot has happened this season in 2001. Obviously, you guys know we went ahead and fired the GM first, which was John Butler. And then we fired Wade Phillips shortly after. And that was because he didn't want to fire his special teams coach. And then we went ahead and hired Tom Donahoe and Gregg Williams. We finished 3-13, not the greatest start to this new regime here in Buffalo. But let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Once again, shout out to Prescott Rossi, who had actually made this series back in 2017, I believe, is when he made this series. So basically it's a round table. If you guys aren't familiar, it's a round table where they basically talk about each year through the drought years. And we're just going to sit here and basically just watch along and talk about it. So here we go. Let's get this thing going. Without further ado, let me add this to the stage and we'll get this thing rocking and rolling. All right, here we go. All right, y'all. Let me mute the background music I got here. Give me 1 minute. All right, there we go. Very good. All right. Let's go. Let's rock and roll, man. Episode 2, 2001.
Episode 2, 2001.
You heard it there.
The mystic chords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely.
What up, Nabel? How you doing, man?
Angels of our nature.
Now,
can everybody hear me good?
Wait.
If you want me to turn down the audio on the other end, let me know. If not, then I'll keep it where it's at.
Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 2, the year 2001.
Turn it down a little bit. How about that?
Your weekly walk down memory lane.
Just in
Buffalo
case.
Bills and their media.
Let me know if you guys can still hear.
This week with Thad Round, News 8 Sports Director, and former News 8 Weekend Sports Anchor Dave Yates. Fellas, thanks for joining us once again. And we turn the calendar to 2001. We'll just jump right on into it. Right at the start of 2001, January 9th, the Bills hire a GM. It's Tom Donahoe. It seemed like that was the name that had been circling around for the Bills.
Tom Donahoe.
Leading up to his hiring, the thoughts in the media when Donahoe was hired.
Well, I think he was the unquestioned guy. He was going to be the one to take over. And more so than just being a GM, this was the first time that Ralph kind of gave the keys to somebody else, because Ralph had been owner and president. So he still had day-to-day responsibilities, did all the voting at league meetings, that kind of stuff. Now he was kind of saying, Tom Donahoe, I want you to do more, kind of take the team off my hands a little bit. I'm just going to sign the checks and wave everybody papally up in the owner's box and you kind of be in charge on top.
So, and by the way, we're going to be pausing this and talking about it. Obviously, this is the reason why I'm doing this. One, guys, it's the offseason, and why not, right? I feel like this is good for Bills Mafia who haven't lived through these times, right? There's a lot of young Bills fans out there that didn't understand what we went through in the drought years, right? I've been watching this team since '89, so I got to suffer the Super Bowl losses, right? The heartbreak of the Super Bowl losses, and then obviously the drought years, right? Which was a total shit show here in Buffalo. It was a roller coaster of emotions. Really, this team has been a roller coaster since I've been watching, right? Of emotions, right? But isn't this funny, right? Like 2001, you go from, the 90s Bills, right? Late 80s, 90s Bills, Super Bowl teams, well coached, great GM. And here we go, right? Here's the flip over here, right? That whole cast is gone. Cast of characters is gone. And now here we go, right? Now we got, Ralph Wilson handing the keys over to Donahoe to be GM and president of football operations. And then obviously they bring in Gregg Williams, which was a terrible hire. But yeah, so like I said, guys, the reason why I'm doing this is it's good for people that didn't live through it. And it's also good for people where I feel it's interesting for people that did live through it that may not know some things that occurred or forgot about some of the things that occurred during the drought years, right? This isn't for everybody. I know something like my co-host Mike, he doesn't want to relive the drought, but I always find it fascinating. I do. I find, things like this, it's always good to go back in time and kind of see, what we went through, where we're at now. Things could be a lot darker right, for this team, like they were back then. We've come a long way, right? And I know a lot of, us fans, Bills Mafia, we bicker a lot about what's going on with the current status of the team. And I love Brandon Beane. I hate Brandon Beane. I hate Joe Brady. I love Joe Brady. We need this, we need that. But the reality is we're a very good football team, right? And we've come a long, long way from the Drought years, right? So it could be a lot worse, right? Than what sometimes we make it out to be. So, it's good to look back and just understand what we went through and where we're at today, right? Sorry, Tommy, you had to suffer through all that. I've only been a Bills fan for 7 years. These past 7 years has been heartache, so I can relate. Wow. Okay, Sandra. So, yeah, this is great for you then. This honestly, like I said, this isn't for everybody. Okay, what I'm doing here, but this is good. I find it, like I said, I find it interesting, and I also think certain people will, right, and maybe you will, right, just to kind of understand, what this team has gone through in the past to get where they're at today, and the crazy amount of coaching hires, GMs, quarterback carousel that we went through is unbelievable. And if you didn't go through it or witness it, I think this will be right up your alley, right? Just kind of get to see what disaster, what a fire dumpster looks like when it's here on your local team if you didn't live through it. Because you look around the NFL right now, right? When we say, oh, that's a fire dumpster, Cleveland, the Jets, the Dolphins, like all these teams that can't get it right. This was the Bills from 2000 to 2017. It was bad. Fan since 87. Okay, a little bit longer than me. Those were tough years because not only were we bad, our uniforms were trash. See, I disagree. I gotta admit, I like the dark blue uniforms. If you guys recall, like I always wear that Eric Moulds jersey during game days. I love that jersey. I really do. I think that jersey's nice. Now, the one, I think it was the away, the white and blue. I believe that was the away. I'm just not a fan of that one. Like some people like it. I think Aramis likes that jersey from Post Podium. I'm just not a fan of it. You didn't like the sleeves? Yeah. The sleeves are a little bit like bulkier. Like they kind of like almost like you had padding in them. But that's what Reebok, I got to admit, I got to say too, the Reebok jerseys compared to the Nike ones, if you ever had that, and I'm sure you did, they were built much better. Like the sewing was better. Like, you know what I mean? The patches were better for me. Like the quality of the jersey was more durable than a Nike jersey you would buy today. That's how I see it. Like I have plenty of the old school jerseys, and I have the new ones too. But if you compare like weight wise, stitching wise, the Reebok jerseys were way better than the Nike jerseys, in my opinion. Better quality. Absolutely. I'm telling you. And then they had the on-field jerseys, which I have a lot of the on-field ones. And those are basically, I think the reasoning why the paddings, or the shoulders are like that is because the players wore them and the paddings needed to be like, they needed to have room for the paddings. I'm guessing that's the only thing I guess. I'm not like an expert at jerseys, but I just felt like those jerseys were better quality than what you get today. And today's jerseys are super expensive. Like put it this way, I'm buying my jerseys elsewhere, and you all know what I mean. I don't care if somebody says, oh, that's not authentic. I don't care, right? I'm not spending $300 for a jersey, especially that's not built right. Everything today isn't as good quality as in the past. That's correct. Yeah, for the most part, Sandra. For the most part. I would say some things are better. I think cars are built a little bit better today. I think, TVs are last a little bit long. You know what I mean? Like some things are built a little bit better, but I understand what you're saying. All right, let's get back to it. Look at Tom Donahoe.
Just being the GM too.
Today is
Ralph
is a sunny day for Buffalo and the Bills. It's sunny because number one of the weather.
This guy's losing his mind.
Beautiful day in Buffalo.
Look, guys, I love Ralph Wilson. Awesome owner. Obviously, the Bills wouldn't be in Buffalo without Ralph Wilson. But at this stage of his life, he's getting old. He's getting old. You guys, if you guys watched episode 1 when he did the press conference, he was actually reading from the presser. It was so funny. It was so funny. It just, unfortunately, age catches up to you, and you start to fumble your words a little bit, start to make some mistakes that you probably wouldn't have made in the past. But Ralph's a good man. He's funny, man.
And it's sunny.
Sunny, baby.
I have the opportunity and privilege of introducing a gentleman to you.
Bob, you're right.
Who
man.
is going to assume the reins of the franchise for the indefinite future.
I got one too.
I first of all just want to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Wilson for giving me this shot with the Buffalo Bills. One of the things that impressed me right from our first conversation was how dedicated Mr. Wilson was to winning.
He was a no-brainer. He should have been. Yeah. He should have been the answer the Bills were looking for. I mean, everything he'd done after that point, he looked like the perfect fit for that team.
And especially, you talked about the change in power. After that press conference that Ralph gave after firing John Butler, was that kind of seen as like, okay, this is the perfect time to do this? Because, Ralph's 82 years old at this point. Maybe we should put the keys in the hands of someone
up there.
Maybe a bit more able, a bit more focused on the NFL. Was that the thought at the time?
Looking back on it.
For sure.
Maybe not, but not so much. At the time, I think we all, and after that press conference where Ralph was reading his own press release, I think we kind of felt like there needed to be someone who kind of knew what they were doing to handle that role of being the team spokesman, the man who's in charge.
He was done. He didn't want to talk no more.
You look at it now and kind of laugh about it a little bit.
Yeah. And we did.
Yeah, exactly. We laughed then too. But it's hard to put a finger on it. You could tell that Ralph had passed his time, that there needed to be someone else. And, Tom Donahoe, he was the answer to every question. He was a personnel guy. He was ready to be GM. He was ready to be in charge. The Bills needed someone like that. There was just no quiz. All right, this was the guy that's going to figure things out. And again, remember, this is 2001. Figuring things out is like a 3-year, 2 or 3 years out of the playoffs.
Exactly.
So 1 year, actually.
We look back now, obviously.
1 year, we went to 99.
At what point did the drought start? In 2001, there's the word drought never comes into the equation at all.
2000 was a bump in the road. And it was 8-8 too. You didn't think of it that way.
Exactly.
I mean, guys, this team was a playoff team, not in 99. This is really, truthfully, 2000 was bad, 8-8, right? It wasn't anything to gloat about. But 2001 was really where it all kind of went downhill quickly. Really bad. Crazy Climber, yuck, what a horrible team that was. Yes, 3-13. Such a massive overhaul and a little return other than Clements, Schobel, and Henry in the draft, correct. I remember being kind of surprised we won 3 games. Yeah, and we didn't win our 3rd game till late in the season. I believe it was against the Dolphins. I had it pulled up. But yeah, we had a lot go on in 2001, obviously. The firing of Butler, which was really a decision because Butler and Ralph Wilson weren't coming to terms about if Butler was going to stay in place as GM, and Ralph Wilson needed an answer. And I guess Butler was kind of just not giving him the answer he wanted. So he went ahead and fired him. You could tell he was pissed when he fired him. He probably didn't want to, but I don't think maybe he felt like he was getting the workaround, from John Butler. And then obviously the firing of Wade Phillips, because he didn't want to fire the special teams coach is kind of crazy to me. I thought Wade Phillips was actually a good head coach, guys. I do. I know some of you guys think differently, but I think Wade Phillips, he did better than any coach that came after, obviously, except for our last head coach in Sean McDermott. But I felt like he would have been our best option still moving forward. But they clearly felt different. But yeah, the draft, we had, like you said, Nate Clements came out of that draft. Schobel came out of that draft. Travis Henry, who I feel is like such an underrated running back for the Buffalo Bills. I absolutely love Travis Henry. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Outside of that, terrible. 3-13. Who was the quarterback again in 2001? We'll get through that. It was Rob Johnson. This was his final year in Buffalo, and it was bad. It was bad, and I'll go over all that as well later on. I'm sure they're going to cover it too. So let's get back to it.
Just a matter of time until things got turned around and everything fell into place again.
This was going to be the next guy. It was, Polian and then Butler and then Donahoe. That's what it's going to be.
Well, Tom Donahoe makes his first big decision as Bills general manager a couple weeks later, February 1st. He hires Gregg Williams to be the head coach. A bit of a surprise, especially considering in the lead up to that announcement, the Bills had interviewed Marvin Lewis and John Fox, the two defensive coordinators in Super Bowl 35 that year. The thoughts about Gregg Williams being the guy?
Well, John Kutchko and I were in Tampa for that Super Bowl. And one of the
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. Technology. Let me bring this back up.
Yes, that's where I'm going. I was the low man. I got
about that.
Low man in the totem pole. And I think it was some point, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, I read a release or some sort of news.
I don't know what is going on with this. Hold on, guys. I don't know what is going on. I don't know. It keeps jumping me off. It keeps taking me off the screen, man. I have no idea what's going on. Sorry about that. Let's hopefully it's, I don't know what is going on.
It'd be a tweet today. Someone basically posted, the Bills are talking to Marvin Lewis, John Fox, okay, whatever, and Gregg Williams. And I called John. I said, John, do you know what Gregg Williams is?
Gregg Williams?
No. Yeah. We were all looking around like, who is this? No, even
Greg
time,
with 3 G's?
Yeah, exactly. At the time, no one really took it seriously because, like Dave said, it was going to be choice A or choice B. The idea of a choice C didn't even exist.
Yeah.
This was the best candidate that I ever interviewed. I won't talk about the throwback if you won't talk about the comeback.
I do have one question. What wasn't it a forward pass, Greg?
My it's rejecting the Drought.
As of today, my thinking was it was a forward pass.
Looking back, it's easy to say it, but I think that's where
some point, maybe Tuesday.
That's right. I'm going to rewind a little bit, all right?
Giants, respectively. So
I know you guys missed a little bit, so let's go back.
And then Donahoe. God, it's going to figure things out. And again, remember, this is 2001.
Figuring
things out.
Sorry, guys. I think you guys missed a little bit.
Out of the playoffs.
Exactly. I mean,
so,
we look back now, obviously.
I rewinded a little bit.
Back like, oh, man, at what point did the drought start? In 2001, there's no – the word drought never comes into the equation at all.
2000 was a bump in the road.
Right.
And it was 8-8, too. You didn't think
yeah,
exactly.
The catch vibes.
Until things got turned around and everything fell into place again.
This was going to be the next guy. It was, Polian and then Butler and then Donahoe. That's what it's going to be.
Well, Tom Donahoe makes his first big decision as Bills general manager.
Terrible decision.
He hires Gregg Williams to be the head coach. A bit of a surprise, especially considering in the lead up to that announcement, the Bills had interviewed Marvin Lewis and John Fox,
stand
the two
Gregg
defensive
Williams
in Super Bowl 35 that year. The thoughts about Gregg Williams being the guy?
Well, John Kutchko and I were in Tampa for that Super Bowl, and one of the reasons we went was because those two guys, Marvin Lewis and John Fox, were going to be there. They were coordinators for the Ravens and the Giants, respectively. So we were like, we got a huge coup. We're sitting here interviewing. One of these guys is going to be the next head coach of the Bills. and then
like
the phone call.
Middle of the week. So these guys are down there, and I'm anchoring, like I do a 10-day in a row anchor stint, which I wasn't very happy about at the time, but whatever.
And we went to Disney World.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Hey, Dad, look at this.
That's where I'm going.
I was a low man. I got it. I was a low man in the totem pole. And I think it was some point, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, I read a release or some sort of news item. It'd be a tweet today. Someone basically posted, the Bills are talking to Marvin Lewis, John Fox, okay, whatever, and Gregg Williams. And I called John and said, John, do you know what Gregg Williams is?
Gregg Williams?
No.
Yeah.
We were all looking around like, who is this? No, even at
Greg
the time,
with 3 G's?
yeah, exactly. At the time, no one really took it seriously because, like Dave said, it was going to be choice A or choice B.
Gregg
The idea of a
Williams.
choice C
Ugh.
didn't even exist.
Yeah.
This was the best candidate that I ever interviewed. I won't talk about the throwback if you won't talk about the comeback.
Funny guy.
I do have one question. What wasn't it a forward pass, Greg?
Yeah, the helmets were dope.
My thinking was it was a forward pass.
Looking back, it's easy to say it, but I think that's where everything really unraveled. That
Yep.
initial coach
I totally agree.
Was the Bills had a chance to make a statement that we're serious about getting back, and it was kind of like, let's take a shot on somebody and see if we can catch,
But at that time,
Catch
wouldn't
magic
Marvin
in a
Lewis
bottle.
and John Fox, wouldn't that also be taking a chance?
No,
They'd never been head coaches at that
stars.
time.
They were
at a different level than Gregg Williams was just kind of like, oh yeah, then he's here.
You think about this past year, how Kyle Shanahan was, the top of the list,
Yeah.
but no one really thought of him as a star. This was Chip Kelly from a couple years ago.
Yep.
These
Yep.
two guys were the guys to hire for head coach.
And we
the idea
went
was
Gregg
Buffalo was
Williams.
going to get one, and looking back,
Right.
I think that might have been the beginning of where
Such a
whereas Ralph
Buffalo
probably
thing
spent
to
money on
do.
players, He didn't seem to be the coaches. and
we
stuff.
went with
I think
the no-name coach,
For a few
right?
hires
The
after
one
that,
that
too.
nobody saw
everyone after
being a head coach here in Buffalo.
Well, and
Greg,
that leads into the discussion about Ralph Wilson and just kind of how he controlled the purse strings. Because immediately after that, a couple of weeks later, on March 15th, he gives an interview or he doesn't give an interview, but he issues a letter to Wade Phillips, the recently deposed head coach, informing him that he wouldn't pay him the $750,000 remaining on his contract.
Wow.
And this went to litigation. It took months. It took until October before it was resolved. At what point did that mindset or did that idea start creeping in that, maybe Ralph Wilson he maybe spends on players, but not necessarily on coaches and staff?
Interesting. See, I didn't know that.
Thought of it that way. Yep. I mean, with that first hire, I
Didn't
think
want to pay him the remainder of the contract.
In that year, it was kind of like, well, hopefully, maybe this is the guy. You don't
Tell
know.
you guys, we had some shit going down in Buffalo.
Like, okay, maybe
things that I did not.
At that point, the Bills still had the glow.
I did not know.
Playoff runs and Super Bowls.
I don't know if you guys knew that. I had no idea.
Happened, say in 2011 instead of 2001, where Ralph was going after a former coach for $750,000, people would have crucified him for it because it would have been, oh, you're cheap. At that point, there wasn't any discussion of that. But 10 years later, and maybe this was, like I said,
that's a lot of money, guys, for back then.
February 27th, a couple weeks before that letter from Ralph to Wade Phillips, Thurman Thomas retires. He signs a one-day contract and retires as a member of the Buffalo Bills. And everybody shows up for that press conference. And you talk about those great days of the 90s, and this is just one more step where
here's where our players start to
the press conference where Thurman
say bye-bye. All the greats.
As Thurman Thomas officially steps away from the game.
I think I was back here for that. I don't think
I was trying to remember who went to that. I don't remember being there either.
Yeah.
One of us had to have been.
We have video of it. It did exist.
I mean, it was, like you said, it was the continuing of an era. It was, and for me not having covered the
sucks when you see, these guys retire.
Exactly. I went
legends, you know what I mean? And you got all these new players now.
So I knew of it. It was.
We're eventually going to go through that with Josh Allen, hopefully not anytime soon, but.
So you remembered it.
We will have that day, guys.
In the same room, and
where our legends leave. And so far, the only legend is
Smith, Andre Reed,
Josh Allen at this point.
Yep.
Bill Polian was there.
People who are not Ralph's guys.
Persona non grata at the time, too.
Just
recently, issues, and it just was another example of how this group came together in a unique way. And I always think now, looking at how many of these guys still live in Buffalo and get together, and there's a recent dinner with Sean McDermott with most
Thurman, Jim,
I think losing those 4
Tasker.
Super Bowls brought that group closer together, more so than winning 1 or 2 or 3 of them would have.
I mean, think about the current roster we got now, guys.
And he always
It's really only one. I mean, I like James Cook,
12
but
years.
we don't have that kind of
It
team.
was a running repertoire between Thurman and myself. I'd see him on the practice field. He'd say, "Hi, Dad." And I'd say, "Hi, son." Number 34, Thurman Thomas.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Crazy. I mean, that those teams were just.
Even if he's leaving,
I mean, both sides of the ball, guys, was stacked with
Which is really
talent.
funny when you think about it. They were known as the bickering
Hall
Bills
of Fame
when
players.
they really caught fire, right when they caught fire, and it's like all of a sudden they were like probably one of the tightest groups you could ever imagine.
The toughness of Jim Kelly, the smartness of Ken Hall.
God, that must suck to have to retire. You know,
Andre
you're
Reed,
a legend. Just
Bruce
have to
Smith,
hang it up.
Steve
Step away from
Tasker.
something you love. I get it.
You know, this is tough.
The very next day, February 28th, the Bills release Doug Flutie. He would later end up with the San Diego Chargers along with
I remember
John
that. Went to
Butler
the Chargers.
and Marcellus Wiley. Was there a discussion in the media
Got rid of
amongst
Marcellus.
you guys or people you would talk to that perhaps there had been some sort of, maybe not necessarily collusion or something like that, but an agreement from Butler and his guys, hey, I'm going to take this job in San Diego, and you guys come with me?
I think Butler
Wow.
was the driving force.
And he took
behind signing,
Flutie. That's interesting.
Wiley and Flutie.
And Wiley, yeah.
Eric Moulds was involved in. There was an issue then. Do you pay Eric Moulds or do you pay Marcellus Wiley? Because the Bills were on the tail end of a successful run. They had tried to spend up to the cap to keep guys in town, and they were at a spot now where they had to pay the piper when it comes to the salary cap. So was it Moulds or was it Wiley? Which quarterback do you keep? And I think Butler knew what the situation was. Now, as a rival GM, he's going to prey upon a situation he knows,
Inside and out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I think he probably said, maybe knowing the tea leaves about which guy they would keep, look, if you need something, come talk to us.
And I think, like he said, knowing how the inner workings, he's like, I know what to offer these guys. I know what they're going to want. I know it's going to be an easy negotiation. It's not like we have to butt heads with them at all. Interesting. I wonder what would have happened if they had chosen Flutie to stay in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Would
I think
John
he signed
Butler
Rob Johnson.
think
Yeah.
so?
It would have been a lot better. I'm not saying Flutie was,
but
I mean, they're coming off a
Dan
year where they
Marino
had
or
John
anything, but
Harbaugh, they had
Flutie was our
Jim
best
Harbaugh, excuse
option
me, and
for
a bunch of
quarterback.
interchangeable parts. The Chargers
Way
were really
better than
bad
Rob
in
Johnson.
2000.
And Rob Johnson had been 1 year removed from really winning a playoff game and having it stolen from him on home run throwback. So, I think there was enough Rob Johnson love at that point that he probably would have gone to San. Now, maybe he doesn't win the starting job, but he goes there.
Well, then you got a SoCal guy too. You
Yeah,
got him going. You got him going back to
You wonder
SoCal.
maybe-
All of a sudden, maybe it's a fit for him.
Would it have worked out for him?
Yeah, that's not the only time your brain will explode in this podcast, in this very episode. And by the way, the 2000 Chargers went 1-15. So they were very bad.
Damn, they were terrible.
We talked about Ralph Wilson, and it's seemingly the first real criticisms leveled at him since those Super Bowl days. Well, in April, right after all this exodus to San Diego, Ralph Wilson, in an interview with the Buffalo News, says that he would rather beat the Chargers this year than win the Super Bowl. And he also reveals that he was the one that benched Flutie for Johnson in that playoff game, the Music City Miracle. I imagine that 1-2 punch at the same time must have just been a field day for the media and just one of those moments you.
This I knew. This I knew for many, many years. That he forced Wade Phillips' hand in that game against the Titans. Making the Music City Miracle, making Rob Johnson the starter in that playoff game, basically because he wanted return in his investment. Let's be real, right? They gave up a first and a fourth round draft pick for Rob Johnson. They also made him at that time the highest paid Buffalo Bill in franchise history. Rob Johnson, a guy that I think he only had like a couple career starts in Jacksonville. He was mainly known for his preseason games there, which he did really well. It was like Nathan Peterman for us, right? And they looked at Rob Johnson as this guy that could be our franchise quarterback, and he's the future. and they gave up the house pretty much for him and then paid him crazy amount of money. And they wanted a return on investment, and he forced his hand in that playoff game. And it was terrible. It obviously was an awful decision. Look, Flutie, like I said, he wasn't, I'm not saying this guy was Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, whatever, the top quarterback, but teams or the team rallied behind him, right? When he came in the game, he brung in a spark, right? Rob Johnson never had that. Rob Johnson was just flat out bad. And we needed Doug Flutie in there. He just brung something different to the table. And also he knew what winning was about. He knew what winning was, right? He won in college. He won in Canada, right? He was just he was also a different style quarterback that defenses had kind of trouble defending. It was just a terrible decision. But the fact that Wade Phillips owned up to it, I appreciate that. I like the honesty. 5 years, 25. Yeah, at the time, that was one of the biggest contracts, or it was the biggest contract in Buffalo Bills history. They should have started Flutie. He got us there. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was so mad going into that game when they announced that Rob Johnson would be starting over Flutie. But as a Bills fan, it is what it is. I mean, I got to root for the team, right? I'm a team guy. Like even though I hated Rob Johnson, okay, if it's Rob Johnson, it is what I can't, force them to put Flutie in. And of course we wind up losing that game. Of course we do, right? It was a nightmare. But let's get back to it.
Go, oh my God, what is happening?
Well, I think the whole Flutie Johnson thing from the Tennessee game, that was pretty much common knowledge before he came out.
Yeah.
Everybody knew the story of going to dinner the night before the game and him telling Wade, this is who you're starting a quarterback. And that was bottom line.
That should never happen, by the way.
The San Diego thing is a similar.
Your owner should never
get
involved in coaching decisions.
The guy really was
I
happy about
totally
it.
disagree with that. Love Ralph Wilson.
Was its own
I do.
Just as nasty.
But
and,
the owner and the GM should have no say
so the idea that
in who's starting
that year was going to be
on their team. If that's the case, fire your coach. Just fire your coach.
No one really realized the disaster that was going to come in the 2001 season.
I agree.
But
that game should not have been close. Should not have came down to that
San
game.
Diego's going to be we can't wait for that game.
And they're coming off
we win that game without that ever
smack them around.
Even taking place.
All right, so the first NFL draft under Tom Donahoe really could not have gone much better. The Bills draft Nate Clements, Aaron Schobel, and Travis Henry. I would imagine the immediate grades after that were probably very high. And obviously, in hindsight, they look fantastic.
Love Nate Clements.
I don't think anyone I don't think Aaron Schobel was much of a guy then. And Travis Henry was, your run-of-the-mill deep round running back. I know he's a third-round pick, but, okay, they got a running back. Big deal. No one thought Travis Henry was going to do much of anything.
He seemed kind of undersized.
Yeah.
But the running game had been
I believe Henry played for Tennessee. Am I wrong on that one, guys? I believe he played for the Vols.
For sure, but I could be wrong. The guy that anyone was raving about.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Nate Clements was a good pick. No one really
from out of Ohio State,
right? Yeah. And they were
Nate Clements
8-8 season. They probably would have picked 16th or 18th.
Oh, hold on. We have the technology. Yeah. Talks amongst yourselves while I do this.
A lot of my favorite players, guys, come from the drought years, which is crazy.
Yeah. So for getting Nate Clements at that spot,
Eric Moltz is my favorite Bills player of all time. Obviously, from the drought years, but he was drafted in '96. But he popped off during the drought years.
But after that, it was kind of whatever. Aaron Schobel was not thought of as a game breaker.
Okay, I was right.
Transitioning now into training camp, the big news from camp, the Bills release Henry Jones, one of the last mainstays from the Super Bowl era.
Really good player.
Every year we see big names, veteran names get released, but that I know that this is your second training camp. How startling was it to see?
I remember got his rookie card.
Released during camp.
It was
1990 Pro set.
You thought Henry Jones was going to be on the team. You looked at the safeties and this guy's going to make it. This guy's going to make it. Henry Jones was going to be one of those guys. But I think it was also the first of what
I think it was 90. Am I wrong on that? I could be wrong on that.
At that point in training camp, if you got an older guy that maybe still has a little gas left,
I'm almost sure I'm right. Wasn't it 91 or 90?
You let him go. I compare it to Fred Jackson.
Yeah, number 20. Yeah.
It's the same. Now, Fred Jackson had
I actually want a Travis Henry jersey.
In terms of level,
I would love to interview
years ago. You assumed
Travis Henry, but he's obviously
you assumed in 01,
Henry Jones laying low, right? I know he
Definitely.
just got. I know Trump
It was a shock
pardoned
to
him
see a guy
recently.
like that go.
So we turn now to the season after all of that
look at this,
off-season
guys.
stuff. Week 1,
This
the
kid
Bills
fucking
lose to New
warped.
Orleans. The big news from that one is Sam Cowart re-injures his Achilles and is done for the season. But in week 2, of course, comes now 2 weeks after week 1 because 9/11 happens in between. I can't imagine how hard it must have been trying to focus on doing a job when this other thing is happening. And perhaps, I mean, you guys can speak to this better than I can, but what was it like?
Oh man, I don't know why guys. I have no idea what's going on, but like the streaming service, whatever I'm using, it keeps popping off. It keeps. I don't know why it's doing this, guys, but it keeps like and maybe you're right. Maybe the Buffalo Bills do not want me to play this. It keeps popping it off the screen
Following 9/11, and obviously your mind's not on covering football because why should it be? It shouldn't be. And you have this team now in front of you. You're trying to do a job that is so removed from such a national tragedy.
We still had media day that week.
The next day.
The next day we had media day up in Buffalo, and there was no
Look, did it
football
again
talk whatsoever. It was obviously nobody wanted to discuss
The
that.
only thing we talked about was whether the game would be played that weekend,
and nobody
no
knew.
one knew, and it was the uncertainty.
I
was
don't
one of the
know.
things
I
remember.
give up
I remember
on that.
watching Gregg Williams.
Can you guys still see it? If you can see it,
the
great.
guy's been the coach for like 6 seconds.
I have no idea why
now
he's doing
the
it.
guy who is the face of this team in the aftermath of this tragedy. He doesn't know if he's going to have a game to play. I don't know if he knew how to deal with it with players. And all of us, I remember also being up there and watching Gregg Williams talk and thinking, I want to watch TV. I want what's going on with what happened yesterday.
Right.
What's the update? Because after 9/11 happened, it was television.
Yeah.
Everybody was glued for hours.
All right, so it's
and
still
that
there?
went
All right.
to Wednesday when we're up in the morning.
I have no idea why
talking
he's
to
doing
Buffalo at One Bills Drive.
So September 23rd is that game in Indianapolis. Dave, was there any discussion between you, John Kutchko, the station, about whether or not we should travel to this game and cover it in Indianapolis?
I think once they decided to have the game, we were going regardless. We drove. We ended up driving to Indy instead of flying.
And that's a drive.
It was a drive, but it was, in hindsight, probably one of the safest times you ever could have flown.
Yeah.
Because number one, nobody was flying still for the most part, and security at the airports was off the charts. But we decided discretion was the better part of valor, and we drove there, and it.
Boy, oh boy. I have no idea what's going on, guys.
Something that we look at now is like, Pearl Harbor, or D-Day, like major historical events. And I worked the next game.
Hold on, guys. Let me.
And the thing that always struck me from post-9.
I have no idea what's going on, but let me see if I can correct this. Hold on. It could be the mouse I'm working with, guys. I got this new mouse, and it is. I don't know. I don't know if it's bugging out or not, man. Give me a minute, guys. Let me. I apologize. I have no idea why. Why it's doing this.
Was there any discussion between you, John Kutchko, the station, about
watching Gregg Williams talk and thinking,
this team now in front of you, you're trying to do a job that is so removed from such a national tragedy?
We still had media day that week.
The next day.
The next day we had media day up in Buffalo, and there was no football talk.
So
whatsoever.
as you guys know,
nobody wanted to discuss
The
that.
only
yeah,
we talked about was whether the game would be played.
I think it's the mouse, guys.
You got an older guy.
It's bugging on me. Yeah, it's definitely bugging on me. Hold on, guys. Give me a minute. Let me.
Maybe still has a little gas left in the tank.
It's the mouse. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on, real quick. Bear with me. I apologize. It's clearly the mouse. Give me a minute. Give me 1 second. Man, oh man, oh man. Problems. I don't know if it's let's see here. Maybe the battery's going dead in this thing. Technology, man. Technology. Let's see if Let's see if this helps. I don't know. If not, I'll switch the mouse, guys. It's I have no idea why it's bugging out like this, to be honest with you. But it is. It's bugging out on me, man. It's bugging out, man. Let's try this one more time. If not, I'll switch the mouse. Okay. Let's try it one more time with the let's try it one more time.
At training camp, the big news from camp, the Bills release Henry Jones, one of the last mainstays from the Super Bowl era. Every year we see big names, veteran names get released, but I know that
I might have to go to the OG mouse.
How startling was it to see a major piece of the Bills Super Bowl era released during camp?
It was a surprise. You thought Henry Jones was going to be on the team. You looked at the safeties and this guy's going to make it. This guy's going to make it. Henry Jones was going to be one of those guys. But I think it was also the first of.
I may have to go back to this thing.
Where at that point in training camp, if you got an older guy that maybe still has a little gas left in the tank, but isn't in the long-term plans, and doesn't have a cap number you like, you let him go. I compare it to Fred Jackson a couple years ago. It's the same.
So,
now, Fred Jackson had a much bigger.
Let's see if this works.
But in terms of level and quality of play.
All right. So, as you guys know, obviously 9/11, right? If you recall, this is like a big deal, right? When this obviously for football, right? In America, but it's a big deal as far as like, will they play football games? What's the NFL going to do? Are they going to not have games that weekend? So I believe we were one of the first games played then. I could be wrong on that, but I believe we were. So yeah, it was crazy. It was actually crazy time, and they're going over that now. So
player 2 years ago, you assumed Fred Jackson was going to be on the team. You assumed in 2001 Henry Jones was going to be on the team.
Yeah, definitely. It was a shock to see a guy like that go.
So we turn now to the season after all of that offseason stuff.
Look at us getting our ass kicked with this defensive-minded head coach, right? And Gregg Williams.
His Achilles.
This defensive guru like we had in Sean McDermott.
Of course, comes
getting
now
spanked
2 weeks after week one because 9/11 happens in between.
There you go, see?
I can't imagine how hard it must have been trying to focus on doing a job when this other thing is happening. And perhaps, you guys can speak to this better than I can, but what was it like immediately following 9/11? And obviously your mind's not on covering football because why should it be? It shouldn't be. And, you have this team now in front of you. You're trying to do a job that is so removed from such a national tragedy.
We still had media day that week.
The next day.
We had media day up in Buffalo, and there was no football talk whatsoever. It was
wild. So I don't know.
The only thing we talked about
I know
was
this
the game we played that week.
Like
nobody knew.
Bills kind of related, but 9/11, right? Like, wow. Like, I'll never forget where I was and what I was doing at that time. I used to work for a company called Ultimate Automotive, and I was the warehouse manager. And I think we started at 8 a.m. I think my shift started 8 to 5 or whatever. But I'd always go in, get my coffee, get food off the truck, whatever. And then first thing I do, pop on Howard Stern, right? This is when Howard Stern was on the radio. I don't know if y'all remember that, but before, he went to Sirius and all that, he was on a lot of the main radio stations, right? And I was a big Howard Stern fan back in the day. Love Howard Stern show on the radio. I think it was on, because I lived in South Florida at the time. It was on like a rock and roll station, if I'm not mistaken. I forget which one, but so I'm working and the plane hit and they were quick with it because it was right. Their building was not too far, I believe, from there. And Howard right away was like, nah, bro, like this something ain't right. right? Like, no, dude, like this can't be a coincidence, right? Like something isn't right. And then, so when that happened, I went and went into the office, and the owners I was really cool with and everything. And I'm like, yo, turn the news on or turn the radio on real quick, because the plane just flew into one of the twin towers. And, one of the owners, the guy Mark, was like, no, are you serious? I'm like, dude. So they came in the warehouse, actually. And then shortly after, the second plane hit, like not too long. So I remember they sent me home. They closed shop down, and man, the ride home, bro, people's like faces in their cars. Like, it was just like dead still, man. It was crazy. It was eerie, wild time to be an American at that time, man. And yeah, man, I went home and it just was watching the news from that point forward, and and then of course the clips started coming in, the plane, oh my God, dude. Wild. But anyways, that's where I was. I don't know if you guys recall where you were at that particular time, but man, I'll never forget that day. That day was just wild. All right, let's get back to it.
New and it was the uncertainty was one of the things I remember. I remember watching Gregg Williams trying to hold a press conference. I mean, the guy's been the coach for like 6 seconds, and he's the guy who is the face of this team.
Yeah, there you go. Mine too.
The aftermath of this tragedy, he doesn't know if he's going to have a game to play. I don't know if he knew how to deal with it with players. And all of us, I remember also being up there and watching Gregg Williams talk and thinking, I want to watch TV. I want what's going on with what happened yesterday. Right. What's the update? Because after 9/11 happened.
Wow, that's crazy,
Sandra. Yeah, everybody was glued for hours, and that went into Wednesday when we're up in the morning talking to Buffalo at One Bills Drive.
So September 23rd is that game in Indianapolis. Dave, was there any discussion between you, John Kutchko, the station, about whether or not we should travel to this game and cover it in Indianapolis?
I think once they decided to have the game, we were going regardless. We drove. We ended up driving to Indy instead of flying.
And that's a drive.
It was a drive, but it was.
Yeah, bro.
In
absolutely.
Hindsight, probably one of the safest times you ever could have flown.
Yeah.
Because number one, nobody was flying still for the most part, and security at the airports was off the charts.
Wow. Wow, Sandra.
We decided discretion was the better part of valor. We drove there, and it was still odd to be back in there. I was just looking at some of the video today and looking at, Gregg Williams signing autographs along the sideline for fans beforehand. It was
Gregg Williams autograph. That has to be in the garbage.
It's almost hard to remember that it was so.
For anyone that got a Gregg Williams autograph, let me know if you watch my channel. Please, do you still own that
Harbor? D-Day. Like,
do you still have in possession? The Gregg Williams
next game, the home game
autograph.
And the thing that always struck me from post 9/11 was when you grew up as a child of the 80s, you were used to seeing Lebanon and Beirut and
I want to brag about having my Gregg Williams autograph if somebody came.
And you got used to seeing weapons and all kinds of bombs and machine guns on TV. Well, this was the first time I was actually as close as we are now to a giant machine gun, and it unnerved me to think I'm going to cover a football game, and here is the largest piece of ammunition I've ever seen in my life. From someone who's going to pat me down to make sure that me and the other.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Wait a minute,
they did have a lot of security outside of the stadium. Do you remember that? I forgot about that too. Yeah.
And you're doing your normal thing, shooting games, and you're also thinking, why? If a bomb explodes over there, what am I going to do? Am I going to roll on it? Am I going to get out of there?
And that's the.
You always had the dogs going around sniffing, and you're
forgot all about that. Yeah, they had to.
I remember going into security in Indianapolis after that game, and it used to be
high alert, man.
Just kind of like, okay, look inside. Here you go. You're good. If you had a media pass, you're good to go. The lines were 30 long, and
for the media
to get in. You didn't care. Nobody. It's like lines waiting was nothing. You're like, okay, whatever you got to do, just do it. You did not care.
Well, so the Bills dropped that game September 23rd, 2001 in Indianapolis. Peyton Manning throws for 421 yards.
Oof.
And here's a sign of things perhaps to come with the Gregg Williams football team. And you can excuse the Bills for perhaps not having total focus leading up to this one. But in this game, the Bills are penalized 19 times.
Oh, my God.
And you think about Gregg Williams and obviously the history that you know about him later, and you just go, oh, Like, that stands out. 19 penalties.
Yeah, and that I still penalties and coaching go hand in hand. I think if a team is really penalized, I think that's a direct reflection on the coaching. It's funny talking about that game. Towards the end of the game, Antoine Winfield had a pick at the goal line.
Somebody has their Gregg Williams autograph still.
Like scored a touchdown. And then I went further back in the video and looked.
Framed on the wall.
He was getting lit up like a Christmas tree that whole game. It was no wonder that interception meant so much.
Yeah.
So the Bills lose week 2. They lose
Look
week
at this.
3
Look at
and
these
week
fucking
4.
losses.
They go into the bye.
Terrible
their
team.
First 0-4 start since 1985.
Oh my God, since 85.
A lot of firsts that are not good firsts. And the first one since 84, 85.
And by the way, getting blown
so they
out.
get to the bye at 0-4. And at what point, it's the start of the Gregg Williams era, but at what point do you start thinking like, this might not be the right guy for this team that was 8-8 last year and
ran away,
season removed.
Fires.
I don't know if you really start thinking. I don't
know.
We
got a time machine, right, guys? We can go back in time.
Like what happened?
And just tell. Ralph Wilson,
it's tough.
This ain't gonna work, bro.
I guess with everything
Gregg
else
Williams
going on, it's tough to point a finger at a coach who was, trying to hit the ground running, and
don't do it, Ralph.
Different things popping up.
Well, now, if I remember correctly, the Bills, the 98 Bills started 0-3 and still made the playoffs.
I think so.
Yeah. So at that point, go ahead and check.
Yeah, we can
as we throw numbers around.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember at 0-4 thinking disaster season over, even though I'm sure there were. Yeah,
if you're getting worked and you're 0-4, guys, you're getting worked
from that.
Yeah,
thinking, well, they can turn around.
Season's probably not going to turn around.
Even at 0-4, and there wasn't the litany of analytics and numbers where people said, now a team goes 0-4, you'll find 15 Twitter feeds that'll tell you that team now has a 1.7% chance of making the playoffs, whatever it is. You didn't think any of that then.
Even though in 2 of those first games, the Bills scored 6
remember
points
thinking
and
it
3
is
points.
fucking
It
terrible.
didn't look good. No one was like buying playoffs.
I don't know if I was sold
thinking
on anything
17-year
at
drought
that
was coming.
point.
It was just, 0-4, not good. Let's see what happens. Especially they win the next game, too. So
the Bills come out of the bye week. They go to Jacksonville.
They win after the bye.
They win in Jacksonville. Week 7 is Johnson Flutie. What was the lead up like to that game,
Gregg's
especially
giving
after
up,
the
man.
remarks that Ralph
Defensive
made
coach.
back in April? Flutie,
be honest, having a quarterback keeps your job and not having a quarterback. Yeah, that's true.
Now, what was that game like
for the most
and
part?
Then, of course, the game itself.
There's still some coaches that get fired with good quarterbacks.
You couldn't, with a team that was
horrible recently with the Ravens.
Everything, you needed something. You
know what I mean? But I get your point. I do get your point.
Negative thing
having a good quarterback can save your
the
coaching
guys
career.
That stayed versus the guys
I'm with
that
you
left.
on that.
It was
for the most
Wiley
part.
or Molds. It was Flutie or Johnson, and it was John Butler and whoever and Tom Donahoe.
I feel bad for Molds. I wish Molds.
Rob Johnson.
Left,
we all
to be honest, because I'm such a Molds fan, and I think he's a Hall of Fame type of player.
Flutie,
if he was somewhere else, he's stuck with the Bills way too long. He should have. Look at Flutie over there on the other end, and of course they beat us.
Eric Molds, great guy to talk to.
Look at Flutie,
but wasn't.
Hey everybody, hey, what's up, Eric?
I don't remember.
Fuck Rob Johnson.
We were all excited. Everybody talked about it all week.
Is that fucking goofball starting for you guys?
Memorable quotes, bulletin board material kind of stuff.
And then, of course, in that
the game is great, though.
Then the game is back and forth. Doug Flutie has the magic once again. It's just,
of
it's
course
amazing
he
how
does.
certain guys just always seem to hit the narrative at the exact perfect time. We've seen this recently. Tim Tebow hitting home runs in single-A baseball, even though he's striking out all over the place. But he hits a home run, and that makes the evening news. Here's Doug Flutie with a game-winning touchdown with a minute to go.
Of course.
And Dave, you were there in San Diego. You just must be looking at that.
If it happened, it's going to happen.
Here we go
to
again.
Buffalo.
You see it coming. That's the thing. It was just
former quarterback. Game-winning drive. Fuck you, Buffalo.
Like, this is going to come down to it. This has got a chance of happening.
Fucking great.
Okay, and I've been a Bills fan my whole life. So and I was a Flutie guy. So I was kind of like, all right. That's cool.
Yeah, you get a little revenge. Yeah. So in week 8, the Bills lose to the Colts, their first blackout of the season. They dropped to 1-6 in week 9.
Remember that when
Tom
they had
Brady
blackouts?
makes his first appearance against the Buffalo Bills.
Brady.
And of course, Brady wins that game as well, 21-11.
Of course.
But in that game, Rob Johnson sacked by Terrell Buckley. Johnson breaks his clavicle in that game. At that time, Williams said it was only going to be about a 4 or 5 week injury. He would be back.
Of course he gets hurt again.
But then, of course, very soon after that, the news comes that Johnson is done for the year. At that time, it's just thinking like, all right, pack things up, season's over. I mean, they're 1-7 after this game is over, and now they're starting quarterback.
It was over the day they fucking started week 1.
Any thoughts of anything?
You ain't winning with Rob Johnson.
I think the concern then was more Rob Johnson. That now this guy, everyone kind of knew that Rob Johnson was the hope, not necessarily. He had the one good game in Jacksonville.
The hope.
Bills bring him in. And
he was the nope.
You compared him to Flutie. You knew Flutie could do some stuff, but there was a limit.
Hope.
With Johnson, there was the hope that, wow, he's got all the physical tools. If he figures everything else out, the intangibles out, this could be a Super Bowl, kind of quarterback. And now he's not playing well. Now he's hurt. So he can't. When he's on the field, he doesn't do much good. And he can't be on the field all the time either. This was looking like quarterback disaster. And I think at that point, everybody knew.
I think so. And you look at the number of hits he took and some of the hits that he took over his time in Buffalo, it was only a matter of time.
Oh, dude would get sacked like 7 times
Dave,
in the game.
You know, we've, and Thad, you too, obviously, we've looked at.
He just held the ball too long. He was terrible in the pocket. He just didn't move well in the pocket.
How violent it is. I mean, we know football is an inherently violent game, but the hits that we see in this game, and not even hits that knock guys out for the game, just like the quarterback hits, the wide receiver hits, that like you just because we have knowledge now, you watch and you go, ooh, I feel uncomfortable watching this. I remember watching it at home. Never really thinking of it much, but even covering the team, seeing these guys in the locker room after games, was there any thought that like, man, maybe this is a little too violent?
No,
not
exactly.
And
it's funny to
football,
go back bro.
And look at watching the games from the.
I wish they'd have that back.
Years and seeing when the
I mean, it's not saying soft now, but
he'd still get popped.
Yep, come on, man.
You wouldn't bat an eye.
It's football. They know what they're signing up for. It's a brutal sport.
Somebody hit the quarterback after he.
Why we watch it.
Flag on that.
That's why I watch boxing. That's why I watch MMA. We know what we're watching. Don't.
Well out of bounds.
There's no reason to make it soft.
Were the ones that blow me away. Just to see guys and
same basketball
at these receivers.
No offense, and I love basketball. I'm talking about today's basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
And the one other thing, back to Rob Johnson, in terms of working the games and being here at News 8. Then when Flutie went to San Diego, a lot of people in Rochester and Western New York wanted to watch Chargers games. So we were the CBS station. We were the ones that had some.
We hated Rob Johnson so much.
People writing in, we wanted to see Chargers.
And want to watch San Diego Chargers
football. On this early and was trying to request as many Chargers games as was reasonable. We actually got a crazy letter from someone, John Neely, who lived in Warsaw at the time, maybe still there, calling us the tools of the devil, Flutie freaks. I mean, because he was on the other side. Like, why are we watching this Chargers team that went 1-15 the year before? But it was an interesting subtext, especially early in the year. I think the first time we did it, the station in Buffalo, WIVB, did not show the Chargers game, and they got all kinds of garbage from Buffalo people who want. Why is Rochester?
You can't win. You can never win.
Exactly. So that's
one thing we've learned working in media. You can never please everyone.
To be honest, in a 3-13 season, that was probably the most interesting part of the year. Was the Flutie reaction about him in San Diego.
And the Chargers that year go 5-11. Well, after
not that they did any better, 5-11.
The Bills host the Seattle Seahawks, a game that was blacked out, but notable because Jim Kelly's number is retired. His son Hunter is there as a very nice ceremony at halftime. We talked about this obviously with Thurman and how it really is true that the Super Bowl era is over. But seeing Kelly on the field, not that far removed from his playing days, I think 5 years at this point, were there any feelings that struck you just about like, man, that era really is over?
That was definitely
Jim going on the wall of fame right there.
Sure. All this, when you see the number,
they got to put Eric Moulds on that. By the way,
I just remember it was
way overdue.
Let's
get that taken care of, Buffalo.
It's got chills thinking about it because it was just so moving.
And that was not looking back.
Imagine a guy that Jim Kelly who did not want to play for the Buffalo Bills initially,
and the way
now he loves the Buffalo Bills. You know what I mean? Like
his son. Not anything unusual, but. Having Krabbe's disease,
but initially he did not want to be here.
Confined to a wheelchair his entire life. That was the beginning of Jim Kelly transitioning from football hero to community activist to an activist for Hunter's Hope, that kind of stuff. And it was there because at that point
Kelly's a good dude though.
Simply anymore. He was the father of a son that needs a whole lot of help and a man that wants to do that for so many other sons and daughters out there. And then when he's enshrined in the Hall of Fame, they really push that to the top for him.
Obviously Jim Kelly is just loved in Western New York, and obviously with good reason. Week 11, the Bills lose again, this time to the Miami Dolphins. In the lead up to this game, Ralph buys all the tickets to remove the blackout for that game. So we've talked about, perhaps is Ralph cheap? At what point does that narrative start forming? Well, here's Ralph dropping a significant amount of money to make sure that everyone in Western New York can watch this game. And I know there had been talk of blackouts even during the Super Bowl era.
Wild that they had blackouts.
And I remember even
back
from
then,
covering this team at the end of
the NFL right now
blackouts were a reality in Western New York.
I don't think they would ever have a blackout now. It's just too big of a sport.
You just kind of just like, yeah,
number
this
one
is just
sport right now, I believe. So there's
even though
that
they
would
have
never
passionate
happen.
fans, even though people live and die with this team throughout thick and thin, blackouts are a reality, and they're just a part of how it goes.
Well, no one accepted them though. That was.
I mean, I'm curious when the last blackout was
PR blackout
for the NFL.
It was.
Like I don't know about other sports, but
the comeback game against Houston,
that was blacked out.
Yeah. A playoff game.
Yeah.
It was blacked out in Buffalo,
the idea
guys. I actually watched that game in South Florida when I lived.
Now
it was just a blackout locally.
I think
not
Seattle
everywhere.
got blacked out, but that was Seattle.
Yeah.
Do they?
Miami.
I don't recall.
Could not allow.
I mean, when was the last blackout game?
Ralph the stomach.
And in that game,
I mean,
Eric Cole's
you don't have to
196 yards, career high.
If you recall, let me know.
Incredible game
I don't
in that
recall.
one. But the Bills
at least
gave
not
up
for our
17
team.
points in the final 5 minutes of the game, and they're a 1-8 team going into this one. No one is expecting.
I mean, with NFL package and everything, like I don't know about.
Or
you're just talking about local TV, maybe.
How as a
I just
media
don't
member,
recall
what's
a
the
game
thought
being
when you're on the field
blacked
and you're
out
watching Miami
quite some time,
get fumble returns, get touchdowns late field goals to pull off this incredible comeback?
Remember I was talking about, you're looking at the scenario and the score and like, is this really going to happen? And you're sitting this one, you're sitting there, is this really happening?
Because you would think, I roll with
so in week 10, the Bills go to San Francisco
for the NFL package and stuff like that, or
we mentioned worse
to watch on YouTube and all that, or whatever.
This team 35-0, first shutout in 8 years.
I don't think they would do that now, would they?
1-10 start, the worst start since 1984.
Oh, local. Okay.
I mean, how much
for
more
local
do you need
TV?
to say about that one?
Okay.
Well,
all right.
I think if I remember correctly, my highlights from that game consisted of pregame warm-up.
That's wild that they would
the
still
kicker
do
that
that.
they brought in earlier that week, and that was about the extent of
Well,
it.
I took a peek at your video, and Alex Van Pelt walking off the field.
Alex Van Pelt.
35-0, and just, you know, we're used to the Bills' 1,000-yard stare off into space, so you're just wondering, like, is there anything going on right now? And at that point, you see Alex Van Pelt, and you just know that there's still 5 weeks left of the season.
We're doomed.
Oh, no.
And Alex Van Pelt then, too, was just run-of-the-mill bad backup. He wasn't the lovable doughboy he became the next couple of years. You know?
The Dogon offense has been
yeah.
coined. Well, the Bills get in the win column once again in Week 13.
Yeah,
they beat the
gotta
Carolina Panthers. They, too, also at the bottom of the NFL standings.
Win number
In
2,
Week
baby.
14, Tom Brady's first game in Buffalo goes to overtime. No touchdowns scored in this game. A lot of people remember it.
Look at the young
Clemens
Tom Brady.
laying out Tom Brady, but Brady leads a comeback in overtime. Adam Vinatieri with the game-winning field goal. This one also notable is known, I guess, as the dead Patriot game, where in overtime, Keon Carpenter lays out David Patton. Patton looks concussed at this moment. The ball pops out.
Wow. Do you guys remember this play?
His head is out of bounds in the white.
Yes.
So Belichick, again, the smartest guy in the stadium, rightfully knows the playbook and the rule book, and calls that out.
You know,
and
McDermott would have totally
don't
missed
get
this,
the ball
right?
back off that fumble. Adam Vinatieri kicks the game-winning field goal in overtime.
Crazy, right?
And of course,
we get
just go
wild
it's
scenario
Belichick,
right there.
First
That
winning
happened.
with him.
Yeah. Week 15, the Bills go to Atlanta. They drop one of the Atlanta Falcons. Not really worth discussing. But in Week 16, the Bills take on the New York Jets in the Meadowlands. Bill Hansen has his first career and only interception. The Bills win that game 14-9 to go 3-12. And fellas, what are your memories?
Big stuff, man.
From a late season win in the Meadowlands against the Jets?
That was my game. And
I bet it was.
I grew up a Jets fan. So, and even now, you know, I tell people all the time, how are you a Jets fan when you cover the Bills? I tell them, look, if the Jets go to the playoffs, I watch the playoffs on TV. The Bills go to the playoffs, I go to the playoffs. So I'm never unhappy with the Bills making the playoffs. But this game, the Bills were dead. They were 2 and whatever.
Absolutely.
The Jets were on their way to the playoffs and would have clinched a spot. So everybody from the New York, I remember listening to New York radio driving to the stadium, and everyone talked about this is going to be a party. There's going to be a celebration. And then the Bills just, you know, throttled the Jets. The Jets really just couldn't get out of their own way. Buffalo hit a couple touchdowns. The Jets scored 9 points, and the Bills win the game.
Yeah, how about
Look out!
woo? Get that third win, baby.
Great win,
get 'em.
baby. We fought hard. Great win.
We're on our way now.
That I remember now, as you and I talked about it, is the ramifications.
It's
of that
amazing.
game. Yeah.
It's amazing. Let me just go through this right here on this legal pad. So had the Bills lost this game in Week 16 of 2001, the Jets would have been 10-5, 6-2 in the AFC East. The Jets would then go on to beat the Raiders in Week 17. This happened in real life. So had the Jets won in Week 16, they'd be 11-5. So you'd have the Jets, Dolphins, and Patriots all 11-5. The first tiebreaker for 3 teams in the same division with the same record is head-to-head. Well, the Jets went 3-1 against the other 2 teams. They would have been the AFC East champs and gotten a wild card bye. So the 2 seed would be the Jets. The Pats become the 4 seed. The Dolphins become the 5 seed. Just keep following me on this.
Did have in the real history. The Pats had the bye. They were the 2 seed.
The Pats were the real AFC East champions.
Right.
So the wild card round would have been Baltimore and Oakland and Miami in New England. Had the seeds held, Oakland would have gone to the Jets. New England would have gone to Pittsburgh. Folks, the Tuck rule doesn't happen. That game never happens because the Patriots would have had to go to Pittsburgh where there was no snow.
Yeah.
No snow that day. Just imagine, had the Bills not won a Week 16 game in 2001, the Tuck rule game never happens, and perhaps the Patriots don't win a Super Bowl, and who knows what comes after that.
So
we talked about mind explosions. There's one for Bills fans that
How about that?
really needs to be discussed way more.
So even when the Bills win, they're not doing anything.
Exactly. They're hurting themselves. Going right for this team.
The Bills won, helped build the beginning of the Patriots dynasty. A major piece.
Nice. Way to go, Buffalo.
Week 17, the Bills go to Miami. They lose. Really not all that important. But the day after that game, Phil Hansen retires. And I know,
Phil.
Dave, you had a relationship with Phil Hansen in the locker room. Your experience is like talking back and forth with him.
He was just phenomenal. He was just a class actor. You know, we talked about
we
him being
sure
one
did.
of the go-to guys.
We damn helped. We helped it. That's for sure.
Retiring, going into the game, there wasn't a great surprise about it. It just became official the day after. So just seeing him interacting with guys on the, it's one of those. It's one of the really cool
all the
legends
just retiring from
to be able to
those
see that kind of stuff
late Buffalo Bills teams.
When he's basically saying goodbye to these guys for the last time on the field and being on the field for the last time. It really it's to see guys like that kind of
Hey, look at Jason Taylor right
softer
there.
side, but it really was, you see a side of him you don't usually get
the
to
human
see.
side.
Yeah, exactly. And you see how much it really means to them. And everybody that they've been on that team with means to them. It was good stuff.
From a media point of view, Phil Hansen was kind of a cross between Eric Wood and Kyle Williams. He was the pulse of the team. He was the guy you went to regardless of the situation. And he was always the guy willing to talk, too. I don't think he ever, maybe occasionally said no.
Very rare.
He was very good with the media and in a lot of tough spots, especially towards the end there.
So the Bills wrap up the season 3-13. I know it was 16 years ago, but just any reflections on that season immediately after and thinking, okay, where are we now with this team? It's January of 2002, coming off their worst year in over 15 years.
If I'm not mistaken, I think when Gregg Williams came in, he talked about how he was going to make the defense better. And if I'm not mistaken, the Bills defense was
terrible.
The year before,
awful.
It was one of the top units in the league, if not the top unit in a lot of categories in the league. And we were all looking at each other like, okay, how exactly
did you?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they just bottomed out.
Terrible,
so you're
kind
of like,
bad.
What are you talking about? You really at the end of the season, you're kind of like, he put out this air of just being,
this defensive guru.
Yeah, and it just didn't come to fruition.
Yeah,
Bills
like McDermott, defensive guru.
Third or fourth worst. Well, at that time, they were
didn't quite work out.
Second worst in the NFL, 420 points.
On top of that, there's a big question of quarterback, too, because now Rob Johnson is hardly a guarantee. But again, I don't remember thinking at the end of that season, we've got disaster, long-term rebuild coming up. It was just one bad year, and they can still fix it.
Well, in the immediate aftermath of that 3-13 season, there is a new team coming in to the NFL. We mentioned that there were 31 teams. So the Houston Texans began in 2002, and the expansion draft would be coming up in that offseason, and every team had to nominate players that could be selected by the Houston Texans. You mentioned Rob Johnson. He's on that list. At that time, was there any thought of like, what are we doing with the quarterback, especially because Johnson didn't play the second half of the season?
He was not the answer. I mean, I think people kind of realized that this was not going to work out. I don't remember much angst about that, other than
he
Rob
hated
Johnson
Buffalo too, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
He couldn't
other than that,
stand
no one was beating down the door to keep Rob Johnson in Buffalo.
Well, a new quarterback will be coming in 2002. We'll turn to that in a moment. But first off, if you enjoyed these Down and Drought episodes.
All right, guys. So that's that. Let's go through let me share the let's see here. I have the actual roster here of that 2001. Let's go through that real quick just to show you, man, what a shit show this was here. Oh my God. Okay, so here we go. Alex Van Pelt and Rob Johnson. Obviously, Rob Johnson got hurt. Alex Van Pelt finished the season, the rest of the season, the second half of the season, finished with 2,056, 12 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Rob Johnson, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, maybe worse than Alex Van Pelt. He was terrible. Let's see here. In receiving, Eric Moulds finished the year with 904. Peerless Price with 895. Larry Centers with 620. Remember Larry Centers? Remersma, 590. And let's see here. In running, rushing, I believe Travis Henry had 720. Yeah, he had 729 for the year, 4 touchdowns. So the offense just, nobody looked good with the offense. Defense, let's see here. Sacks, terrible. I mean, terrible. The 6.5 for Schobel, 3.5 from Newman. Phil Hansen had 3. Fisher had 3. Office had 3. I mean, just terrible. Interceptions. Nate Clements had 3. But yeah, just a terrible, terrible team put together by Gregg Williams. Really not terrible players, but coaching makes such a big difference. And obviously quarterback as well. And we didn't have either one, right? And we didn't have that for a very long time until we got Josh Allen. Let's be real. Yeah, this gets crazier and crazier, guys, as this continues on. Obviously, I roll up. He's been a fan since '87, so he understands this. He's lived through this. He watched this whole episode, all right, going back in time, reliving the nightmare of the 17-year drought. But it is interesting, and it's like I said this earlier in the podcast. It's interesting to see and relive, those who live through it, to relive these times, and just to see how bad it really was, and where we're at today. Like, we come a long way to be where we're at today. And really all we're missing now is the Super Bowl. So we got to get that done. But, man, it just kind of goes to show you when an owner's getting too old, making bad decisions on hires, making bad decisions on forcing your coaches to make decisions like start Rob Johnson, right? Getting rid of good GMs, though, Butler might have left anyways, but hiring bad GMs and then them hiring bad coaches. Like, you see this today. You see this today with the teams that just can't get it right, like Cleveland and the Dolphins and, all these teams that just keep on these dumpster fires, Jets, right? That just can't get it right. Can't find their quarterback, can't find their coach, right? And some of these teams are just like the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in like 25 years. Something like that. I think they had their last playoff game. Yeah, 25 years. I think their last playoff victory was in 2000. I mean, so guys, like, once again, I'm not sitting here telling you guys you should be happy with what what we have and it should be good enough. But if you look around the league and look at our past, we've come a long way and we're a good team, right? Obviously, the goal hasn't been achieved yet, and hopefully they will. Especially for older fans who just want a Super Bowl before we die. But I believe that time will come. I do believe that time will come. Josh Allen is obviously a main reason why I think that time will come. Let's just hope the coaching staff, this new coaching staff, and Brandon Beane can figure it out, right? And get this team over that hump which has been really, what's been blocking them, right? That playoff wall that McDermott could not figure out. Let's just hope Brady and company can figure out how to get over that wall and get us to a Super Bowl. But yeah, next week, I will be back on Sundays, right? So every Sunday at 1, we'll do 2002, which obviously you guys know, Drew motherfucking Bledsoe comes to Buffalo, which is a big deal. I'll never forget that. And yet things still didn't go right for the Buffalo Bills. So I'll see you guys next week at 1 o'clock. And oh yeah, Sandra, what'd you think real quick before you go, Sandra? Because Sandra didn't get to live through the drought year. So she didn't, obviously she probably doesn't know a lot of what happened. The coaches, the quarterbacks, the carousel the roller coaster we went through. What'd you think, Sandra? Just curious about, so you were here for the last episode too. So how do you feel about, the first 2 years of the drought years here, 2000, 2001 that we covered? You find it interesting? I think so. You've been here on 2-1. So have a good day. Hey, Bob, thank you so much for sticking around and watching. Tommy, thank you. Go Bills. Hey, no, thank you so much. And I hope you are enjoying this, this trip down memory lane of the drought years. And I hope you come back next week, Sunday at 1 o'clock. Let me know. Let me know if this is you find this interesting. Very curious. So, anyways, guys, let's see here. I want a football watcher, but I've heard a lot about. I wasn't a football watcher, but I heard. Okay. All right. Well, you're going to learn more. If you're here next week, if you're here for the full 17 weeks that I'm doing this, then you're going to learn. It gets crazier and crazier. Trust me, Sandra. Put it this way. It just started. The shit show has just started for this drought team. So, yeah, buckle up because this is going to be one hell of a ride. All right. So I'm out of here. Bills Mafia, I love you. And as always, go Bills. Peace.
Just let your soul go. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feeling oh so